Sound check, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good to the internet? Yay, let's try the other one. Check, 1, 2, 3, 4. Check this, Danny, check the sound on the guitar to the net. How's the sound for the guitar on the net? Good? Yay. 10 o'clock. Good morning, dear friends, fellow humans. Hello to those of you joining us out on the internet. Well, today's a special, yesterday actually the official anniversary, but today I'm intending for our time together to be focused on a reflection and recognition and honoring of the life of Ruth Dennison, who, had she not died 3 years ago, would have been 96 yesterday. And so I'm going to show, in the Dharma Talk section, I'm going to show a couple of brief videos of Ruth, and then emphasize how her teachings were utterly unique in the world of Buddhism. Anybody here for the first time? One, welcome. Two, welcome aboard. I hope it turns out to be a useful time, having come this morning. There are at the back of the room 4 devices for any of us that have difficulty with hearing, and they're really very good. They work very clearly, so I encourage you to use them if it would be helpful. You may have noticed on the way in, and if you haven't noticed yet, if you look around you will, the building is very spiffy. There were more than 40 people here yesterday over the period of the day for the biennial, it happens twice a year, the Karma Yoga Opportunity Day, or the work party. And it's astounding to me always what happens when you get together a group of mindful people who then go about doing tasks, and who self-assign tasks, and who discover things that I never would have thought to do. I mean, they went to such lengths yesterday, they moved the couches to vacuum behind them and under them. Now, isn't that extreme? Much more than that, the stairs down to the tenant area got scrubbed, and a couple of electrical problems I've had on my plate for over a year were magically transformed. And so much happened. The windows all got washed. The fans got put on their winter mode, so they're blowing up rather than down, so they don't cool us now. They bring the warm air down. It was really a remarkable thing, and a sign of the depth of community that we have that's continuing to grow. Not just in numbers, but of willingness to participate in our shared life together. So, if you wish, I'd like to invite you to join me in the singing of the refuge in the Buddha Dharma Sangha. Many of you have heard me many times say this. The Buddha was an ordinary human being, just like us. And he faced the dilemmas of life just like us: sickness, old age, decay, death, impermanence. And he set off on a quest that took him 7 years of very serious study and practice, and woke up. And that's now 2,600 years ago. And from that 2,600 years ago, there's a broken line of teacher to student transmission. It's what we call lineage. And my teacher Ruth had as her teacher U-Ba Khin. U-Ba Khin had Lady Sayadaw. Lady Sayadaw had Achan Mun. And so it goes back 120 generations. And so we are the recipients of a remarkable transmission of human culture down over this last 2,600 years. So the refuge in the Buddha, we can understand, is an honoring of this tremendous lineage, which is the Sangha, the community. But let's start with the Buddha. It's that aspect of us which is awake. Right now, you could become aware. Please notice, if I say, please become aware that you're seeing, something happens, doesn't it? There's an extra order of information, which is knowing of seeing. Or you could know that you're hearing. That awakeness, that's the Buddha. And most of the time we're not there. Most of the time we get lost in the wandering mind in various trance states and emotions and opinions. So to take refuge in that which is awake, and with that which is awake to observe what is, what do we experience? Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, the feeling body and the mind. And it's all in flux. And it's one thing to think of that or speak about it philosophically, but it's quite another thing to experience it directly. It's actually life transforming. And then Sangha, community. We have here a remarkable community. We gather together for mutual encouragement and support in our practice. And the vision of PIMC is a cradle-to-grave place. It's a first-generation center, starting with Ruth. Ruth, back in, was it 2000? I forget, 2000. 2003, handing me the first check for $10,000 and said, start a center. To which my response was, ack! But, so, refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and we have this modern way of reflecting on it, which is a song to do together, a song by Betsy Rose. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. Once more, I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. The human mind is capable of an almost infinite variety of activities. It creates the past. It creates a story that is a representation of prior experience. It creates a future, which is representations of imagined future experience. To be able to differentiate between when the mind is doing that and when it's right here in the present moment is the essence of the meditative journey. Most people don't have any idea that their mind is wandering all the time. Right? We get lost in emotion and ideology and a kind of madness. We get lost in remorse and hatred and fear and jealousy and anxiety. And that's what we run into when we meditate. We encounter the human mind as it is. And we could devote our time to trying to create some particular state or some way to escape from this. Or we could go a very different direction, which is the direction of surrendering into what is in the present moment, of really waking up here and now. This was the incredible brilliance of Ruth Denison. She was my teacher and friend for 40 years. And I never ceased to marvel at how she could create in any circumstance a way to experience the present moment more fully. Just had a remembrance of being very hungry one day out and driving somewhere in the Mojave Desert. And we stopped at a 7-Eleven and we all got a little bite of something. I had a bag of chips and I was just diving into them, and from the front seat came this, "Stop!" How awake are we with this bite? Are we aware of hunger? Are we aware of the sense of lack? We didn't get to have another bite for half an hour. Really. So here we sit right now, alive. There is a body sitting here. Some body sits here. One way to practice, time-honored, is to become aware of this body, to notice that it makes contact with the cushion or the chair, the floor. To notice that the hands are alive. To notice that the face is alive. In fact, in your experience of it, there's nothing but life. You could imagine a face, but if you're with awareness of the present moment, what is there except tingling, vibrating, warmth, coolness, life? We are inseparable from the earth. We are the earth. Everything that we are in terms of matter, we borrow for a brief time from the earth. We feed it each day. We take in liquids and excrete wastes, and we're as much of the earth as these Douglas fir trees in the backyard. we belong. What a relief that can be, to realize that it's not a mistake that you're here. It's not that you've done something wrong or you have to justify your existence. You're here. 100%. And we can help ourselves awaken in the present with awareness of mindfulness of in-breathing and out-breathing. Notice that the body changes. The chest and abdomen expand and contract. Each breath has a beginning. It's just like everything else on this side of the Big Bang. It begins, it has its lifetime, and then it ends. And we're encouraged to be as intimate as we possibly can with the breath. It's one thing to have a cursory sort of awareness of breathing. It's quite another for awareness to penetrate deeply into the sensations of the chest and abdomen as the process unfolds. In the natural experiencing of a human being, in addition to the breathing sense, there's hearing. Sounds come to the ear, including the sound of this voice. Somehow or another, they become hearing consciousness. In exactly that same impermanent way, thoughts come into being. Sometimes they come into being and we fall into their trance. We become enthralled with them. And then a story is woven, perhaps with emotional overtones. But then at a certain point, inevitably, the fact of that trance or delusion becomes apparent. And then we find ourselves right here in the present moment again, breathing. And it's not a battle, it's not a war. It's the action of love and compassion and awareness and patience, attention. This is a very unusual thing for us to do as human beings. To stop. To sit quietly. To intentionally cultivate awareness. And along with this awareness comes patience and kindness and concentration, tranquility, and ultimately wisdom. If we sit still for any length of time, inevitably we discover that there's discomfort in the body. Normally we would shift position and scratch or stretch. But in meditation, we very kindly, lovingly determine, I think I'm going to just sit here. I'm going to sit here and watch this discomfort and the disliking of it and the fear of it and maybe the stories that get spun around it. Because I'd like to not have to move every time I get uncomfortable. I'd like to not have to take every painful emotion as an emergency, as serious. I'd like to not identify with pleasure and pleasant moods and become giddy with them and become addicted to having them. Instead, I'd like to learn to sit at the still point, at the middle of my life. and watch what the Tibetans call the magical display in consciousness of so much that occurs. Being as intimate as possible with the life of this body. It breathes all by itself. there is a very kind, merciful, compassionate effort required for meditation. A willingness to accept the true craziness of the human mind. Ultimately, to accept those parts of the mind that are unsavory and unkind and greedy and selfish and hurtful. It's only by acknowledging and welcoming them into consciousness that we manage to live lives which are less and less hurtful, less and less desperate. So if the mind wanders for 5 seconds or 30 seconds or 5 minutes, it's not a failure. It's actually something to celebrate in that moment when awareness springs into being and we notice the wandering mind. We notice the emotion that's dominant. We notice the liking or disliking. This is how wisdom and compassion come together. Very patiently sitting with what is, more and more awake, more and more accepting, and forgiving. It's interesting how all this can arise from simply having an intention to be aware of the emergence of this next breath. And then to be with it through its entire life cycle of rising to fullness and then declining and then disappearing. Please now become aware of your feet and the legs, and the pelvis, and the torso, back, sides, front, chest, solar plexus. Your fingers and hands and arms, shoulders, Your neck and your face, cheeks, eyes, nose, mouth. Notice your eyes in particular, and then notice how it is to form the intention to let them open. To let them open and see, and be aware of seeing. Seeing in full awareness, knowing that you're seeing. Ruth Dennison she had two memorial services. One in Yucca Valley, where there were about 200 people, and then another one at Spirit Rock, where there were a similar number, different people mostly. And at Spirit Rock, I asked the people there, how many of you felt like you had a personal, special relationship with Ruth? Almost to a person, people raised their hands. She had this, she liked to say, Dalink, she was Prussian, Dalink, I like to get under their skin. And she could be really irritating. And she also could point out places where one was stuck and holding on and believing an ideology. And of course, sometimes we don't like that. We'd rather be left alone to our own self-torture. And before we move to Jim doing the Qigong, I'd like to share with you a practice of hers that's actually a very advanced insight meditation practice. People think of it as, oh, it's a kindergarten game. Well, actually it's the practice of being embodied with an intention, and it's also interactional. There's a part of this that one would do with a partner. If you don't want to do it with a partner, you don't have to. Just stay in your own space. And if you don't want to stand up and do it, you don't have to do. You have permission to do that. Ruth would never have given such permission. If you didn't, she would have come and said, "Why are you doing this?" So, I think it's an improvement to have a little bit of permission. So, with that said, I invite you to notice that you have a body and that I'm going to say these words. Please notice how it is to bring your body to standing. So, what moves first? Oh boy. What moves first? Ruth was a beautiful 20-year-old at the end of the war, maybe 19. She was captured by the Russians and taken to one of their camps and was raped more times than she could count. Not just, well, and more than that also before she got there. She had PTSD. It was never really resolved. On several occasions during her life, she had what's called depersonalization, derealization disorder. She was with her husband Henry in Baja, and she was projecting her consciousness into the waves and then being in the waves, and it was really ecstatic. There came a time, however, where she couldn't get back in, and she couldn't lock into herself, and it lasted a year. And so Western medications could kind of knock her out, but no one knew what to do. And so Henry ultimately took her around the world and to a Yasutani Roshi in Japan, and he told her, just relax and you'll come together. And she said, I can't. If I do, I'll die. And he screamed at her, then die! And she snapped back in. But that happened at least 4 times that I was aware of. This serious break, which during all that trauma, she learned how to go out of body. So yeah, she was not a good person. If you were on a retreat and said, I just had an out-of-body experience, it was not a good thing to say, because she would say, out of body, can you stay in your body for 30 seconds? She had some not so good bad experiences. But part of her brilliance was she learned from those dissolution experiences how to get back in. And she said, it's the little things that teach us, I'm going to get teary. It's the simple things. It's the simple things. I can't remember whether the song, you'll hear it in the song. It's the simple things that let us know we are alive. It's the beginning of the breath, or the beginning of a movement, or a touch, or a taste, or the feeling of a thought. It's attending to those micro aspects which appear in the present moment. That's what coalesces us as a person. And when we're crazed, which can happen from so many different things, so many desires and fears and conditionings, all we have to do is come back to the simple things. And so she borrowed this song from Betsy Rose, and it goes like this. Stay close to the ground. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know we are alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. So join me. Stay close to the ground. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know we are alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. And then there's some gestures. Stay close to the ground. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know that we're alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. Pausing. How mindful can you be doing this? Can you be completely aware of moving to the ground, and then when you touch the ground, if you can still reach it, touching, each finger touches, you can be so present in that, and then rising, and how present. Right? So this is life as practice. Stay close to the ground. Oh, I missed a line. Live close to the earth. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know that we're alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. Stay close to the ground. Live close to the earth. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know that we're alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. This time, when it's this, find a partner and use their hands. Stay close to the ground. Live close to the earth. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know that we're alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. Mindfully stay close to the ground. Live close to the earth. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know that we're alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. Stay close to the ground mindfully. Live close to the earth. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know that we're alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. Stay close to the ground. Live close to the earth. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know that we're alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. Stay close to the ground. Live close to the earth. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know that we're alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. Remembering to be mindful. 4 more songs. Stay close to the earth. Live close to the ground. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know that we're alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. Stay close to the ground. Live close to the earth. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know that we're alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. 2 more. Stay close to the ground. Live close to the earth. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know that we're alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. Stay close to the ground. Live close to the earth. Don't go far away from your heart. It's the simple things that let us know that we're alive. It's the simple things that are keeping us whole. Breathing out, standing. Being aware of this form that stands. It breathes, its heart beats, it balances. This is your moment in the sun. Your moment to walk as an apparently autonomous being on the earth. Why not be awake? Why not awaken from the trances of greed and hatred and fear and jealousy, and love yourself more and more every day? Be kinder to everyone you meet. The path is very simple. It has to do utterly with being alive now, at the sense doors, and awakening from the trance of thought. Standing. Feet on the floor, head to the sky. A coming together of consciousness and matter as you. Thank you for sharing in this practice. I now hand the baton to Jim.
Well, this really feels like a special day. So, my mind wandered a little bit during that dancing, but I remembered my brother-in-law who taught me to have fun at my birthday parties a long time ago. He's been dead for 10 years, so I'd like to dedicate this to my brother-in-law. And again, you can join in or you may sit down and observe, but let's see if I can pull this together. You put your whole hand in, you put your whole hand out, you put your whole hand in and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You put your whole foot in, you put your whole foot out, you put your whole foot in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You put your whole butt in, you put your whole butt out, you put your whole butt in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. All right, now pause and feel the tingling in your body. What's not tingling? We live so much in the head. What's happening in the head on the sensation level? Is there a half smile on your face? How do the little muscles feel around your eyes, around your lips? How are your shoulders opening from the inside? How are the lungs expanding, expanding the ribs? And what's happening with your heart? Extending down the arms into the elbows and wrists and fingers. There's awareness in the tips of the fingers. Awareness in the palms of the hands. turning to one side, you can feel the hips and spine and shoulders turning, stretching, moving to the other side. Sensations all up and down the torso, down into the pelvis, into the legs. Just gentle turning. Feel the cooperation. All the muscles and tendons, ligaments. Simple movement. Keep it simple. If it's not simple, it's not Vipassana. Once again, let's reach down and get close to the earth. Reach the lowest limb of your leg, or lowest part of your leg, and then keep in touch with your leg and come up. And then opening the arms to the side, lift to the heavens, and bring all this experience down into the core of our center. Thank you very much. And I'll see some of you, I hope, next Saturday for an all-day sit right here.
Jim. I'd love a glass of water. Thank you. You read my mind. Again. Thank you, my dear. The water of life. On loan. Remember Another Roadside Attraction? If you read that book. You remember how it went? Water created humans in order to transport itself to places that otherwise it would never get. Next Saturday, there's an all-day retreat. Oh, yeah, that was what you were mentioning. Yes. We're doing each first Saturday of the month, you can come and meditate for the day. Pretty nice deal. Good thing. Next Sunday, October the 7th. Yeah, next Sunday, I'll be doing my usual once-a-month intro to the PIMC and to the Dharma. If you've never attended that, I encourage you to. And it's a good thing to bring friends to help them get started. Then there's all kinds of things here. Classes, movie night, Saturday, October the 20th, Kubo and the Two Strings. Qigong, October 20th. I have a retreat coming up at Brighton Bush on October the 28th. I will also be gone, not next Sunday, but the Sunday after, when I'll be at teaching a retreat at Hollyhock. You could still come to that if you wanted. It's in Canada. There's so many other things. I think I'm not going to talk about them. Lots of sits. There's lots of practice here. The next generation teachers, it's several nights a week, and wonderful. There's nonviolent communication classes. All this stuff is on the homepage of the website. And if you'd like to be part of the ongoing conversation, you can join the listserv. You send in one message and it goes to the entire community. I think that's all. That, and of course, got to remember this. Oh, update on the ramp? I don't know. It is happening. The drawings have to get to the contractor. The contractor is then going to go once again to the city, and hopefully it'll move along. It's just a glacial process that I find quite tedious and difficult, but workable. It'll happen. And the other thing is the NPR has spent the last 10 days doing their fundraising routine. And I've been listening. And so we're going to stop our regular programming now, and I'm going to bore you to death until you cough it up. I like that. That felt good. No one leaves until we reach $10,000 cash. This is a real brick and mortar building. As we found yesterday, we discovered a few things that are falling apart that we didn't know until yesterday. But you have an opportunity to support this amazing adventure, which is PIMC. It's landed here as a spore in Portland with me in 1978. I've been teaching here ever since. And it's grown into this remarkable thing. And Jim and Doug have been aboard for 20 or 40 years. And what's it about? There's this realization that I'm having, and it keeps, I don't have the words for it. I keep talking about it. It's true. That a sperm and an egg come together, and then we get born. What? Weird. And then we live a lifetime, we dance, we affect each other, we do this, we have these interactions, and then we disappear. That's really strange. I mean, that's the great mystery. And as we do that, we're nice to each other or we're not nice to each other. We enjoy ourselves sometimes or we don't. We become very addicted to this and that and the other thing, or we don't, or we do and then we recover. And this isn't new. This is the human condition. It's the same as it was at the time of the Buddha. From the documents, not documents, I guess they're stone tablets, they had serious alcoholism in Mesopotamia. And no-fault divorce, interestingly. Two very important things. The Buddha said the taste of this practice at the beginning is the taste of freedom. The taste in the middle is the taste of freedom, and the taste at the end is the taste of freedom. And if we are unaware of what our mind is doing, we're prisoners. We are robots. And that's the world. And all we have to do is look at the world and see that's what's happening. People can watch the same hours of television and see totally different truths. How do you like that? Isn't that amazing? Because we see through our filters. So these doors and this building and all the events that happen here, it's a busy place now. It's devoted to waking up from the trance, which then means we treat our children better, we treat our spouses and partners and friends better. We become better citizens. Our needs become less, so we become better planetary citizens. Our sense of right and wrong becomes clearer. It's like, oh yes, this is, and as Ruth put it so beautifully many times, Dalink, once you have the Dharma, you can no longer get away with yourself. It's like, well, I think I'll just, oh damn, I can't do that anymore. So, all of that to say, this is a place worth supporting. And I encourage you to take some of your diversionable, some of your disposable income and make a significant contribution to PIMC. You can do it online, you can make a monthly donation for the stewardship circle, or you can use the Donna bowl back there. But think about it. Because we're doing something really important here. Life-changing and world-changing. So that's the Donna pitch. In 1980, in 1979, my then brand new wife, the mother of my children, and I were in Burma for a week because her teacher got us in through all the rigmarole, and we both ordained novice ordination with Tongpulu Sayadaw, a very famous old monk, kind of like the Dalai Lama of Burmese Buddhism at that time. And it was a very intense, remarkable, mind-boggling experience. And I know when I got on the plane leaving Burma, I sobbed like a baby. I had this sense I was leaving my family. It was very interesting. And there were various experiences while I was there that were potent. It was like, whoa, how can this be? But anyway, a couple of years later, Tongpulu Sayadaw, came to the United States, and they created for him a temporary monastery in a home up in the hills west of Palo Alto. And since he was there, we decided to go down and just spend a day and pay our respects. And we did that, and in the afternoon, I was in the kitchen doing some dishes, and a woman came in with a pretty thick German accent with a bee sting in her hand. And I was at that point very much into body work, and so I was rubbing her shoulders and her hand. We had her hand in ice. And then when we exchanged names, she said her name was Ruth Dennison. And I had heard of her. She was one of 4 people that U Ba Khin authorized to teach. There was Robert Hover, I'm going to forget the second one, Goenka, and some of you may have practiced the Goenka, USM Goenka, and Ruth. John Coleman, Robert Hover. They quit teaching rather quickly. But I had heard of her. And so somehow or another we went out to her pop-up van. She had a Volkswagen pop-up van. And we talked for 6 hours. And it was life-changing. To meet someone who really knew the Dharma and who would relate to me and with whom I could talk about what was happening. It was transformative. And so I then, after that, I went to a couple of her retreats. She taught in these really funky places. I went to a couple of her retreats, and then I kept going to her retreats a lot. And then I wound up managing her retreats, and then started going down to visit her in California. And then it turned into a lifetime friendship, a 40-year friendship. And at the end, I became responsible for her financial world and for hiring her caregivers and being there. And I was there at her death. I got to be there and 3 of us provided her primary care during the last 11 days. And then 3 of us were there at the time of her passing, which was like all passings that I've been at. There's this, and then no breathing in. And then we carried her across the desert and sang. We had her body for a day, had dry ice, and then off she went. And 6 weeks later, or 4 weeks later, we had a big ceremony, and we had lots of people came and spoke. It was a wonderful experience. And then we had a cremation. We went to where she was cremated, and in she went, and then we got these little. This little bit of, where is it? Oh, it's over here. Please feel free if you ever wish to come up and hold it and twist it. And inside there's a little bit of what's obviously bone. And as she would have said, certainly freely, this isn't sacred. People are saying, oh, I don't want to touch it. It's a piece of calcium. It's just a piece of calcium. It did happen to belong to Ruth Dennison at the end. So it's highly symbolic. And the bottom part comes apart too. That's kind of cool. These are made in Thailand for this very purpose. So, she's responsible for this center. She was very instrumental in it happening. So who was she? Who was that masked woman? I want to play a little piece of a video for you. I don't think I'll play it all, but it's really quite touching. I'd never seen this till after she was gone. So please bear with me, and let's see, could someone turn off these front lights? Turn this on. Outside to your right, on the wall. Is that coming up? Ah, there we go. Come on. There it is. Vipassana. This practice is Satipatthana Vipassana. Vipassana means seeing things as they really are. Seeing things without the masking of our ideas and hopes and fears and fantasies, projections.
Welcome to this place, to this meditation retreat center, Dhammadina. Welcome to the desert. Let's take a moment and acknowledge our environment. Perhaps turn into the circle. And let us, through some movements, open up in our bodies to the freshness of the air, beautiful coolness of the morning, to the life above us, around us and below us. Greeted and accepted this marvelous surrounding. It's an extraordinary situation right now in our desert here. Since 7 years we didn't have a blooming experience of the bushes. They filled themselves with the raindrops and the waters. They are all voluminous, very expanded. I invite you to just see what is before us and extend it a little bit into the background. Keep that in mind, what actually the eyes see. See, usually we don't do that. We try to figure something out, and all what it has impressed itself is just a splash of color. You allow the act of seeing to happen. And then you have space, and in that time there is awareness there. So we can also say we are training our mind now to be present to the experience. I enjoy it most at those moments where I realize I don't teach. I share. And when I really feel it expresses itself, you know. I see it somehow. As I teach, I see it arising here and forming itself. And that what I say is the expression of a certain illumination or vision. of the connectedness of the law of nature. It is beautiful and it is doing good for others, and all of from that motivation. And I'm compassionate and I'm loving and I see the suffering, which is also very wonderful. Then it flourishes. Then my whole body kind of expands and is lucid. And in that energy, so to speak, is mind there too, and it sees itself. And then I teach. Then I love it. You just bloom out of it. And the you is, I don't want to claim any, but that is teaching. You see, like this. Yeah? And more awake to it, and more accurate, and more synchronizing. All that calls your attention and your concentration. And then pay attention, when you have this rhythm, pay attention to the kind of synchronizing of the whole body. You feel it in harmony with the other. Not just by your sight, but by these movements or these so-called experiments with movement. They are twofold in their effect. They can be supporting our traditional sitting and quiet walking, and they can also be the expression of that calmness which we cultivate and support also with these experiments. They can be the direct expression of our mindfulness, and there comes so the touch of the real joy, and we cultivate at the same time joy, the third factor of enlightenment. When I went to the training to Burma, I had some practice in sensory awareness with Charlotte Selver. Yeah, with Charlotte Selver, and so I was a little accustomed in noticing his bodily sensations. Also, I was kind of rooted in myself, yeah, from the beginning. So this practice addressed me very deeply. I went to it like the duck to water. I could deal with my emotions, for example, very easily. Anytime they came up, I was kind of relating to my standing and so to speak, connecting, giving my mind the body sensations as something to attend to, rather than trying to clarify my depression or my jealousy. Yeah, in that I attained great spaciousness, and it healed in that. I didn't know I was already doing vipassana at that time. So as I sit now and watch everyone sitting and trying hard to concentrate, to bringing back the mind from its kind of fantasies and dream states and desire states and so on. And there was a great deal of effort and with very little result. Some felt tremendously pressured and created more pressure by their own demand to now perform a good meditation. Well, I had to go into more action, where I saw some screamings here, I heard some screamings here, some jumping here, some quivering here, so I had to act now. So my initial, I knew if you move, you feel the sensations more strongly. So I said, bend down, stretch your arm, wave it, tap yourself, tap the other back. And I developed more and more, as I went along, a kind of skill in that too. I pulled in that also joy into allowed them to be a little bit, well, let me say, hope came in many who were despairing, said it's not for me, I cannot do it, it's too uncomfortable, it's too stressful. It's what I did also at the women's course, my first women's course. Then I already did this, and it was easy for me. And there I had not the kind of subtle, tacit disapproval minds of my colleagues in Bari at that time. I think maybe, or of students who were used or attached to the idea what meditation or Vipassana meditation is. They began also, what shall I say, attending to their bodily sensations, to their body movement, to their walking, to their breath, to the sensations of the breath, became a very light dance at times. For I combined it with movements, and that was very, very easing, that hard sitting. And they had delight from the beginning, and they could experience directly, right away, something. More connectedness, more. There comes joy through, and kind of more freedom, and the mind is relaxed now and comes back. Breath is also relaxed, and we can make a new beginning. And it is no hanky-panky, as I had to suffer.
I will send out the link for this. You can watch the last 10 minutes or 7 minutes if you want. But I want to show you this. Is it here? Yep. So this was 7 years ago at my wedding. Just for a moment. This is the Ruth leading us in movement here. Paige Freeborn and Adrian Dick playing one of Adrian's pieces. She ritualized everything. There's Kate. Could we have the lights back, please? Back ones too. The back one, there's a slider on the back one. Could you put it up too? On the right-hand side of the toggle. Yay. Anybody learn anything about meditation in that brief? What was it? Take the mic, if you will. Do you want to? Come. You just nodded. Maybe you didn't mean to.
Hi. Yes. What it reminded me of how connected the body is to, for me, just expression and letting go, and not thinking about what next movement I'm going to do, but just letting it be what it is. And that's a lot of what I'm learning in my own meditation.
Thanks. Anybody else see anything? One thing that I see when I watch that video, that was taken a long time ago, in the late 80s, I think. The Mojave Desert does not look like that now. All that greenery, it's almost all gone. Dry. Yeah, Connie.
I had a privilege of going to visit Ruth.
Can you hold it a little closer?
Yeah, maybe about 5 years ago, something like that. And one thing, Robert was saying that she was intense, and she was. I was with her for 3 hours, just the two of us. And I remember her teaching me almost every minute of those 3 hours. It was incredible. And she took me to the meditation room and showed me this table that we have here. She made 2 of them, and I cannot forget that. Every time I come in here, I know that Ruth made that table. And she was extremely proud of it, and told me that many people like Alan Watts and Timothy Leary talked about life around that table. So I always stare at it when I come in here, and I think about Ruth spending her time meditating over the colors, and it's a beautiful gift that we have here of her. Thanks.
It is quite something. I kind of get used to it, but when I look at it a little bit, it's pretty flash. Anybody else? Yeah, question.
I have a question, and in hearing her story and hearing about her life, do you think the experience of having to have an out-of-body safety place while she was, a child in that awful situation may have helped her jump out and kind of be naturally gifted as someone who could meditate and step back?
I don't know. I certainly wouldn't wish her depersonalization, derealization disorder on anybody. I've met a few people since then that have suffered that, and I don't know that there's anything any more painful than that. So it's like maybe a really bad acid trip that doesn't end. So it's not a skill. It's a break. It's a break in the structure of the self, and so yeah. Yeah, sure.
Can you just fill us in for how she got from being in a Russian camp to being a teacher?
Yeah. It's quite a story. I highly recommend the book Dancing in the Dharma. It's a biography of her that's really very, very beautifully written. So the war ended, and she somehow or another responded to an ad to come to America, to Los Angeles, to take care of an elderly man, to be sort of an in-home caregiver. And she did that for some significant time. She stayed loyal to him and took care of him till he died. And whilst she was here, she met a man named Henry Dennison, who had previously been a Sri Ramakrishna Swami. Sri Ramakrishna was a great saint at the end of the 19th century in Calcutta. There is a Vedanta society here in Portland that you can visit, which comes from that lineage. Anyway, he'd been a Swami, and he came from great wealth. His parents were the Dennison family of railroad fame in the Southwest. They owned huge tracts between San Diego and Palm Springs. There's the Dennison Library at Scripps College for Women in Pomona, which was endowed by Henry's grandmother. And all Ruth's 38 boxes of Ruth's papers, 48 boxes of Ruth's papers and objects went there, and there's an archive, the Ruth Denison Archive, which is intended for young women to study a woman who made a huge difference in the culture. That was the purpose of the archive. Anyway, she met Henry, and they fell in love and wound up getting married, and she then became part of the spiritual intelligentsia, and their home, they bought a home in the Hollywood Hills, which overlooked the Hollywood sign. You could look down on the lake and then to the Hollywood sign. And their home became a hangout for people like Alan Watts and Allen Ginsberg, and the Japanese roshis that were coming from Japan, obviously, at that time, stopped in their home and would stay with them for some time till they would get set up of where they were going. And she mentioned Charlotte Selver, who was quite elderly when Ruth knew her. Charlotte Selver was German, and she taught a sensory awareness practice, which is where Ruth's movement came from. There's some beautiful pictures of Ruth and Charlotte when Charlotte could no longer sit or stand, conducting a workshop, lying in a stretcher. So then, and there were many adventures. I really highly recommend you read the book. It's quite a read. There's an exciting moment. Henry went to the East Coast, I forget where it was, but this kind of intelligentsia meeting and dropping acid and doing mushrooms, and it was very wild, let's say. And he didn't want her to come. And so she didn't until later. And then she went and came in costume and was unrecognized. It's quite a story. This is a good pull into the book. So anyway, then this depersonalization disorder thing happened, and that was when Henry then took her around the world, and that set off a quest of meeting these great masters. And she spent time in Japan practicing very hardcore Zen. She wore like 9 or 12 Zen robes to try to stay warm. It was so cold. And then she went to Burma, where she met U Ba Khin. And she and Henry did his training then, which was in this meditation in Rangoon, and she got it. Something opened in her. She understood the Dharma, and it became a bone of contention between herself and Henry. Henry, who was very articulate and erudite, and Ruth, who was the Dharma teacher. And so I guess you could say the rest is history. She started teaching mostly women at first, or all women at first. And then that changed, and she started teaching men. And she taught for a long time, must have been 35 years. And came to the Northwest. She came to Brighton Bush at least once a year for 10 days for 25 years, 30 years, I don't know. She was here several times. And she had an incredible capacity to see deeply into an individual and to care and to be with. And please, Denny.
Would you tell that remarkable 9/11 story about?
Oh, yeah. Ruth was visiting New York City, Boston, at the time of 9/11. And she had one of her students had given her a first-class plane ticket to go home. And she was invited to stay another day or two by one of her students. And so she changed her ticket. She tried to change it in the afternoon of the day before, and they said, I don't know that we can do it, we'll try. And she got a phone call at 5 in the morning that she wasn't on the flight that she'd been going to go on. And one of those flights went into the Twin Towers. And she was shaken by that. She said, whoa, that was close. And in a kind of a silly, humorous way, I wondered whether it could have changed the course of history. That this little German woman of iron will, you can't do this. I don't think it, I doubt it would have worked, but yeah, it was a close call. Close call. Thank you, Danny. So, 44. I think I want to do a 5-minute, this is rather than a 2-hour meditation with you, on the throat. I had Ruth at least 2 or 3 times spend an hour or 2 doing what I'm about to share with you here. So please sit comfortably upright. Maybe we'll take 10 minutes. You have a body. Be in it. Sounds, pleasant sounds, children playing. Please notice the aliveness that is this body. Let go of the word body. Awareness meets aliveness in what you think of as your hands. Let go of the idea, hands, just sensations. This is the present moment. Face. Let go of the word face and any memory of what you think of as your face. Sensations and awareness. Face, more intimate. It doesn't take trying, it takes allowing. Intention and presence. Lips. Nose. Perhaps you can be aware of the entire head. It's very heavy. But there's the forehead and the scalp and the ears and the back of the head. There's the jaw. There's the tongue. And don't battle with the wandering mind. Just realize that you just reconnect with now your chin and jaw. And allow awareness now into what you think of as your neck. The tongue begins at the tip of the tongue and goes way down into the neck, muscle. Sensation. Bring awareness into the front of the neck. Noticing the front of the neck, which stretches from the sternum to the bottom of the jaw. The back of the neck. Softening into the aliveness which is here. The right side of the neck. The left side. And the aliveness which exists between the front and back of the neck. The aliveness that exists between the left side and the right side of your neck. Notice the mind may resist this. It may drift off. It might be critical. It might be thinking of something. All of that is normal and natural and fine. But then come back. Body meets mind, meets head here, rather. What are the sensations deep inside the neck? Noticing the mind wandering and come back to the neck. The breath travels down through the neck. So the head sits atop this neck. Please allow awareness to descend now into the chest with its breathing. No story, no image. There's nothing to figure out. Life. Life as movement in sensations, from shoulders to elbows, forearms, fingers, thumbs. Resting back into this aliveness which you are. Aware of the inside of the chest and the abdomen. Allowing awareness into the solar plexus and the lower abdomen. Into the organs cradled in the pelvis. Awake in the genitals and the perineum and the anus. Life. The back and the sacrum and the buttocks. The thighs. First the right thigh, then the left. The thighs have an inner side and an outer side and a top and a bottom. Knees, calves, shins, ankles. Feel how this body is nothing but life. Heels, ankles, the bottom side of the foot, and the top and the toes. Letting go of all ideas, all images, all hopes and fears. Just awareness meets this that takes form at birth. Sounds come to the ears, and awareness can receive them just as easily as it does sensations. And perhaps you can be aware of the entire body at one moment. It's just aliveness and awareness. And noticing now the eyes, where they are positioned in this long form. Let your eyes roll around, or help them roll around with your intention inside their sockets. And then let them open. Or more accurately, make the intention and then the effort to let them open. Seeing. And then just as you can be aware of the sensations inside the neck, can you be aware of seeing? What is it that does this seeing? Does it require a self, or does it just see? The Buddha said, in the seen, only the seeing, no seer is to be found. In the heard, only the hearing, no hearer is to be found. Strange teaching. The teaching of liberation. I want to close with another practice from Ruth that she did in this hall when she was here on her birthday one time. And it requires that we stand and maybe open the door so the kids can come in when they get here if they're not already there. Oh, that's great. Thank you, Connie. There's a song for this one too. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to you. And this is a little awkward, but it's the way she always sang it. Every day are we born. Every day are we free. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to you. Every day are we born. Every day are we free. And then we can mill around and find partners. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day we are born. You can spin. Every day we are free. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day are we born. Every day are we free. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day are we born. Every day are we free. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day are we born. Every day are we free. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day are we born. Every day are we free. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day are we born. Every day are we free. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day are we born. Every day are we free. 3 more. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day are we born. Every day are we free. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day are we born. Every day are we free. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day are we born. Every day are we free. Last one. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. Every day are we born. Every day are we free. Let's make a big circle. Yay! Excuse me. Okay. Oh, could someone hand me the mic, please? The microphone. Hi.
Do you like that song?
Do I like that song? I love that song. Okay, thanks. All right. Hi. Are you going to sing? Okay. You're going to oh, I see. Well, let's hold hands. May I? Yep. Thank you. So our minds can do anything. Why not give the person on our right a bit of a good wish and a blessing? Whatever that would be for you. And the person on your left, give their hand a little squeeze. Takes a little bit of intention sometimes, but we can do it. And then around our circles and out into the world, to everyone. There's a lot of us humans and countless of our other brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and relatives, and we're all alive here. May all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. May all beings know happiness and the causes of happiness. So, now we come to that moment. You ready?
Testing. Okay. May all beings be happy.
May all beings be happy.
May
all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much. All right. So, thank you to those of us joining us out on the internet. Thank you to all of you that are here. Thank you once again to everybody who came and helped make this place sparkle yesterday. There's goodies, tea, and good camaraderie through that door. I encourage you to come and join in. The candle, I forgot something. Oh, excuse me, thank you. Phew, almost blew it. Are we ready? Almost didn't blow it, right? Everyone in the room gets to participate. You take a huge breath. Also, those of you in internet land, ready? 1, 2, 3, go! Go, 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 go! Woo! Phew! Yay! Thank you. Every movement can be mindful. See you soon. Goodbye. Oh, thank you. Nice hat.